Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Successful Woman's Mindset. My name is Galit Ventura-Rozen, and I have the privilege of interviewing another amazing author from the book, The Successful Woman's Mindset, 21 Journeys to Success. I'm excited that I have the beautiful Fariba with me today. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I'm going to just start. I'm not even going to barely introduce you because everyone can learn more about you at the website and when they read your bio and your chapter. But this is Fariba Calvetti Beighlie. How'd I do?
Perfect.
Yes. I really practiced that, didn't I, Fariba? It was so important to me because we both have what's considered unique names in America. In our countries, they're not considered unique names. I'm assuming yours is pretty common as well, or no?
It is very common. Yes.
Yeah, as well as mine. I remember I'd go visit and I'd walk down the beach and they would say Galit, Galit, Galit. And I'd be like, what? Because it was such a common name, but in America, our names are quite unique.
Well, we can be unique.
Yes, and I love it. And it's fun because when I was younger, I didn't like it growing in the States, but as I got older, I learned to appreciate it as part of my uniqueness. So today I'm thankful for that name, but when you're little, you don't want to be different. It's a little bit different when you're little. So yeah, so let's get started. The first thing that I want to ask, but before I do that, I want to share with everybody that you are president and managing director of FKB Architecture and Associates. So it's real important that everybody knows why we're writing this chapter and the connection. So the first question I'd love to ask is, what does the phrase "the successful woman's mindset" mean to you?
Different people measure success in different ways. In my eyes, success is what you intend to do and how you go about achieving it. To me, every intention that I put in and follow through and find the steps to get to that point determines the degree of my success. So if I say I'm successful in making a meal, that means I have intended to make this meal and then I've gone through the process and make it happen. In my own life, I've intended to do different things, set goals, and it hasn't always been easy to achieve those goals, but I have been able to reach them so far.
I love that each woman I ask this question to has such a unique answer and so different, because I do believe that this means something different for each person. And that's why I'm so excited about this book with 21 different chapters, 21 different women. We have from age 29 up to the 60s and such different fields and interests. And I love the word that you used, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. You used the word intentional, intended, intentional. Will you share a little bit more for anybody that's listening or watching? Well, they might ask you, Fariba, well, what do you mean I have to be intentional about the things that I want to succeed at?
In my opinion, being intentional means that you make a goal and a commitment to what you're doing. It's not happenstance. It doesn't just happen to you. You make it happen. It's taking ownership in your own actions. It's being responsible for everything you do. Things don't happen to you. You make them happen. It's living by design. It's, being the architect of your life. This is the program. This is my design. And these are the steps and the phases that I have to go through to get there. I live my life the way I practice my architecture. I set guidelines and goals, programs, we call them in architecture. And then I examine different ways to get there. and I go through phases, and eventually I will get there. And I always say, if it'll all be great at the end, if it's not great, it's not the end. So there's still work to do.
And I think you just set us up perfectly to go into the second question, which is introducing your chapter title and why you chose to write it. So your chapter title is Neuro-Architecture and an Intentional Life, which I love the explanation you just gave about intention, and you described it and compared it to your passion, which is architecture. And I love that you wrote this chapter because it's, someone might think, oh, great, what am I going to read? A chapter about architecture? No, you're not reading a chapter about architecture. There's barely anything in there about the logistics of it. So will you explain to everybody listening and watching a little bit more about the chapter title, the theme, and why you chose this?
Yes. First of all, I have to say it was really hard for me to do this.
It was a journey, wasn't
It
it?
was a journey, and I so appreciate your patience and hanging in there with me and guiding me through
Well,
it.
it turned out great.
Go do it, do it, do it. Um, because it was personal. It is personal. Everybody's life is personal to them. For me, it was a journey to get here. Um, Everything that I've done in my life, uh, I've done with a purpose to do better by me and all those around me. Every day I make that choice. It's a choice I make, and it's what I do. The reason it goes back to architecture again is being the architect and the designer of your life, and I believe I've been able to do that. Where neuro-architecture comes in, it's a neuroscience of architecture. It's basically studying and practicing another level in architecture and design. We're using our brain and how our brain sees the environment, experiences the environment, and potentially your environment can help you maintain your uh, brain cells and also help you develop new brain cells. So, using the same philosophy in my life, I use my brain to help my life to get to the next step, to achieve what I need, exercise the brain to get to the next goal, whatever that goal may be. We all have different days, good days, bad days. Some days the goal is just get through the day. Some days the goal is just, design the most amazing thing you can design. Um, that's just a little bit background on the chapter.
I love it. And I love how you incorporate in the chapter your passion for architecture, but also the things that you've gone through in your life, your own personal journey that really you have learned to live an intentional life. So let's talk about that part of the chapter for a minute. If anybody's watching or listening and they say, Fariba, what do you mean I need to live an intentional life? Now, we spoke about it a little bit at the beginning in relation to goals, but let's talk a little bit of it related to maybe their own lives, if they have their own challenges, or their own profession or career and they have their own challenges. How can they use this living with an intentional life to overcome those things or maybe move past them?
It would go back to starting a new life in a new country as a young teenager, when you are put in a position where you actually had no control over. So, given that situation, the best thing to do for me, the best thing was to keep going. And I would say to never give up. Always have hope, always have faith that you can. And not just have faith in the environment, yes, and other people, yes, of course, but yourself. What's inside you? That that burning desire flame inside you that keeps you going. What I would say is never give up. I never gave up and I don't intend to give up. And I think that is actually um, freeing and empowering at the same time. And I say that to myself and everybody else around me. If it's a hard day, just keep fighting. Just keep fighting. Don't give up. That's what I mean by an intentional life, that this is your life. You
Yeah.
make it happen.
Powerful, powerful, because we've all been there in those days where it doesn't feel like it's going to get any better. You prefer just it either being over or starting it over in a better light. And then we go into those emotions where we are like, wait, we can't even think straight because it's just so bad and we feel so bad. But then a day later, 2 days later, 5 days later, sometimes it takes a while,
Well,
we look back and we think, oh my gosh, thank you that I kept going. Thank you that I knew to do this, that I knew to do that. I think that's such an important piece to share, especially now with so many new challenges that people are facing. I don't think that we've never not faced challenges. I just think a lot more people are facing challenges today than they have in the past. You don't really have a choice. So what I hear from you is, when you tell people live an intentional life, you're saying to them, stop, figure out what you want, set those goals, make a plan, and go for it. What do you think?
I think that you say it better than I
I
did.
know I don't. I'm just making sure that I'm hearing you, and I want everybody listening to be very clear that living an intentional life is, you wake up in the morning. I'll use the simplest example, and please give me one too that's simple. But you wake up in the morning, and typically most people brush their teeth or go to the bathroom first, right? It's intentional.
Yes.
And it's the most simplistic things that we're almost robotically doing.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you say living a real intentional life is maybe even stepping out of that robotic mode? What do you think about that?
I think it is exactly that. It is exactly that. Instead of being on automatic all the time, I get up, I get out of bed, I walk, brush my teeth, use whatever, um, to get out of that automatic. As soon as you open your eyes, I am starting this day. I am going to get out of bed and I am going to do this. Say what you're going to do. Be present, take control, be in charge with everything that's going on around us that we have no control over. We have control over our own actions. And that's exactly what it means. It means that be aware of it. It's your intention, it's your life. Own it. That's exactly what it is.
I love that. I love that you explained it that way, because I completely agree. And it isn't that challenging to do. It's just more of making a decision that you're going to do it. And I love that you use some of my favorite words like aware,
Yes.
one of my choice. Those
Yes.
are two of my favorite words for Reba. I use
I
them all the
live
time.
by those.
I
Be
love
aware
them.
and
I'm
make
not surprised.
choices.
I'm
Yes.
not surprised, because women that are living their purpose, their passion, their lives with intention, we are aware,
Yes.
and we know we always have a choice.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that those two words are perfect for what you're talking about. So let's end with something fun today. What is something fun about yourself or interesting that you would like other people to learn?
Well, I say that we need to learn something new as an adult at least every couple of years. Not a couple of years ago, but 15 years ago, when my son was 7 and he was in Korean martial arts, I was sitting and watching him practice in his class where his master, sensei, said, "Why are you sitting there? Why are you not on the mat?" And I said, "I'm too old to do this." And nope, you get in there. And I actually started studying martial arts 15 years ago. And I must say, as an adult, and I was not in a bad shape, but I couldn't even stand correctly, to learn to stand in a different way, to learn things like a child that learns to walk again. It was very humbling and a great experience. I still practice it. Well, I haven't in the past year, but um, it's a lifelong practice for me. Um, learning something new, learning something new, martial arts, tennis, music, paint.
Yeah, finding something that you might love. Now, what's interesting about that story is you may have never thought to learn that and never thought to get up,
No,
but an opportunity arose and you said yes to something that probably didn't feel so comfortable.
no, it was very uncomfortable.
And look at the experience you've had because of it.
I think I'm a stronger person because of that.
I think that that's great. I think it's a great example for those listening and watching to understand that sometimes that one thing in front of you that you would say no to 100 times, but you said yes to can make such a big difference in your life. Who would have ever thought, right, Fariba? You said yes, and then look what happened.
Yeah, and it's one thing that I always can go back to. That studio, that practice is always there.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And he always says, what doesn't kill you makes you strong. You can't even complain about
I
pain.
really love one of the singers that
Yes.
sings that, Kelly Clarkson, and I've seen her in concert. You know, one of my passions is music, and one of my hobbies is going to see concerts. You can imagine how much I miss them right now. And I've seen her in concert, and when she sings that song, I get crazy because it's so
Yeah,
true.
it is
It's so, we don't want to
true.
get that extreme, but it's still true. It's
Right,
still true.
right. You can never complain about, oh, my wrist hurts, my right wrist. He says, well, how does your left wrist feel? Feels really good.
That's
Focus
such a
on
good
that.
example. That's a perfect example. I actually hurt my ankle a few days ago, and it was right before my workout. And sometimes when you hurt yourself, I didn't sprain it or anything, it's just bruised. But sometimes the pain takes 3 and 4 hours to show up. So I worked out, and then about 2 hours later, I was like, ow. And I still didn't care. I worked out, and again, it wasn't sprained, it was just bruised, so I couldn't break it or hurt it. But that brain said to me, you get that workout in because this is the time you work out. And I pushed myself through it. So it's a perfect example to what you're saying. You just kind of find a way.
Right. It
Yeah.
didn't kill you. It made you stronger.
Yeah, I love it. What is a way or ways that people that are watching and listening can get a hold of you if they want to learn more about working with you?
I would love for everyone to visit my website first, www.fkbarchitecture.com. My phone number, 562-706-0220, which is also on my website. And my email is there as well. So I would love to hear from everyone about what they think about architecture, brain, love with, intention, life.
Perfect, perfect. So anybody that's watching or listening that's interested in learning more about Fariba, the information will be on the website as well as in the book. We want you to make sure that you grab the book, The Successful Woman's Mindset, 21 Journeys to Success. The fabulous Fariba has her chapter in there with 20 other women, and you will learn so much. You can grab that at thesuccessfulwomansmindset.com as well as at Amazon or any online retailer. My name is Galit. I appreciate you being with me today, Fariba, and being a part of this book. Thank you.
I appreciate being here. Thank you.
And anybody that is interested, please continue to watch all these fabulous interviews or listen through iTunes to the podcast for The Successful Woman's Mindset. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.